Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. Where we're bringing unique insight and analysis covering your favorite teams at the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yantz. Matt and Brady not on today. Got some other things going on, but, we're here talking about some football. We got a special guest on, from Spectrum News 1 and former work for the Cleveland Browns. We got Katie Priefer. Katie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some football.
Oh, definitely. And talking about the Bengals and the Browns and, the foes that we are and the foes that we have in our division. So definitely ready to get into that. For everybody else, just, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter and all, subscribe to our YouTube channel and for our latest releases, coming at you the next couple of days and all. But here we go. We're going to get right into it. Starting off with my Cincinnati Bengals. They won a division last year at 10-7. I know, I see the expression right there. They did end up losing to the Browns twice. I will give you credit there. And one of them was not very, very pretty. That's the background image right there. But yeah, Cincinnati 10-7, won the AFC North, went to the Super Bowl, fell short to the Rams 23-20, trying to rebound in 2022 and try to avoid that Super Bowl hangover that has plagued teams for many, many years. But kind of get right in with the offensive line acquisition Cincinnati has had. We know how bad their offensive line was, and a couple of the guys for the Browns especially just ate up on us. But will the Bengals' offensive nucleus pick up right where they left off in 2021?
I think it's hard because no team can ever really. It's not like you can pick up at the Super Bowl, essentially. Yeah. So I think with their new additions on offensive line, it's definitely gives them a better shot. And I think that, was it 51 sacks that they, had last year? So I definitely think they're headed in the right direction. I guess we'll see. I'm excited to see, there are 3 new additions kind of perform out there, protect Joe Burrow. I think obviously that would be really good. So again, avoiding that Super Bowl hangover. I think it takes a lot of teams to warm up within the first couple weeks, and I think the same thing will happen for the Bengals. So I'm excited. I think unfortunately, I think the Bengals offense is going to look really good this year. So,
and the thing is, in the preseason, none of the guys even played. Like, you had Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. None of those guys played. And, as a fan, I'm expecting, the team to kind of, they're going to have to find their footing real quick. It's going to start off a little slow against the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1. But I think they can eventually, they'll eventually find their way and all. But I'm really excited to see the offensive line. You got Ted Karras from the New England Patriots and Alex Kappa from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at right guard. And then, the nasty glass eater they like to call Frank Pollock, the offensive line coach likes to call, and Lyle Collins. We've seen him in the headlines the last couple of days with Aaron Donald and all. So excited to see that. Hopefully, our penalty intake doesn't go up any further. The Bengals were actually the least penalized team in the league, which a couple of years ago, you wouldn't have thought that was possible at all.
It's not that case.
Oh, not at all. And, obviously you had, Burrow threw for 4,600 yards and, was obviously, helped out right there by Jamar Chase, 1,455 yards on 81 catches and 13 touchdowns. And then T. Higgins having a massive season at 1,100 yards as a number 2. And then Tyler Boyd, 828 yards. The trio almost got 1,000, which would have actually been, I believe, the 5th or 6th trio in the NFL history to ever do that. So big things looking for the Cincinnati offense this year, see if they can start off quick. But I will say this, on their Super Bowl run, and especially down the stretch, their defense was really picking it up. It was the last 3 weeks of the season and the playoffs, but what do you think the biggest key to Cincinnati's defensive success will be in 2022? They return a lot of pieces back and all, but what do you think?
Just looking back at last year, I feel like a big thing for them was their corners. And I think, if anything, it's going to be part 2 of that this season. I think that Eli Apple might be playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because he gave up that winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. Yep. So I think, if I am correct on the type of player he is, he'll come back, better than ever. Yep. relying on Mike Hilton, relying on just those solid guys that gave them so much success last year. Obviously, they were doing it right. And so just continuing that and growing in that backfield, I think would be their best bet and what's really going to bring them a lot of success on their defense this upcoming season.
Definitely. And, Eli Apple played really well down the last half of the regular season and all had a couple interceptions. I think he had back-to-back interceptions against the Raiders and the Steelers, if I'm correct on that. But, I mean, he played, pretty well against, some number twos last year. And then obviously, he had the Super Bowl. And people kind of blow that out of proportion in a way, like how he, he was so awful and all that stuff in the Super Bowl. I know he gave up only 3 catches for like 20 yards, but they were 2 of those catches were like the biggest catches of the game, 2 touchdowns to Cooper Kupp. So
yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, it is Cooper Kupp, like top receiver in the NFL. Can't talk too badly about Eli Apple.
I mean, you can't really do that. I know a lot of people had their heyday on Twitter. I know Tyreek Hill definitely. Tyreek Hill, all those guys had their heyday on Twitter and all. But yeah, I mean, you had Eli Apple trying to step up. Chidobe Awuzie was actually really good last year overall. Had a really solid season. I know his name doesn't really get floated around as much as one of the top corners in the NFL, but he was really solid last year in 2021. And Mike Hilton, very good slot corner, formerly with the Pittsburgh Steelers, had a very good 4 years with them, and then came over here. But yeah, I think their secondary, the corners are going to be really big. The safeties, you got Jesse Bates coming back. I mean, he came back last week actually, so it's going to take a couple games for him to get back in the playing shape and all. Dax Hill drafted from Michigan with the 31st overall pick. Von Bell's still back there from the Ohio State University. I mean, their secondary is going to be, it's going to be a huge part of Cincinnati's success, as well as the pass rush up front. Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. So really excited to see what Cincinnati can do on there. And I think if their defense starts off, really strong, I mean, it could be another good season and all. I don't know about Super Bowl run because obviously the hangover it's real, but I mean, we'll see what happens with that. But rolling over to the next team, the hated Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers.
Golly. And I will give a nod right there. I know your dad, Mike Priefer, the special teams coach, got his was the acting head coach against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the playoff game, got a victory that night.
My whole life.
Oh yeah, and I was cheering for you guys that night. I will say. Yes, definitely cheering for you guys, and put up 48 points that night. That was a bizarre first quarter just alone. It was insane.
It was the anxiety on the drive. My mom and I drove together from Cleveland to Pittsburgh. The anxiety that was just like built up. My siblings flew in from different states, all just to come, watch my dad shine. So I have this video of my dad shaking his fist, like running off that field after that win. It still literally just got goosebumps. Still will go down top 5 days of my whole life. Wedding, awesome. Who cares? Don't need to get married. I've seen my dad win a playoff game against the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I can die a happy woman.
There you go. And I mean, both Ohio teams broke their curses back-to-back years and all. But I mean, think about it. I was going to ask, there was only what was there, 1,000 people in the stadium that night?
Yeah, there was nobody around us. I heard some heckling Steelers fans. Gave him a couple dirty looks throughout the game, but just, let the boys play. They performed, and I'm a happy person because of it. I remember I turned off my phone the whole game, turned it on, had over 100 text messages from numbers I didn't even have saved. I'm like, oh, people are coming out of woodworks to say congratulations to him. So I don't know if you've seen his post-game press conference after that game. My dad got a little bit choked up. I just think he's from Cleveland, and just having my whole family there, I know really meant a lot to him. So I like to think I was a good luck charm. Maybe that's a little selfish of me, but
I mean, you were there, and first time happened in 20 years. Who knows? Maybe that was the case. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I think I remember watching that. I think it was it with Michelle Tafoya? Was it the post game interview with the NBC and all? Okay, yep, I definitely remember watching that. But obviously you were in Pittsburgh that night. I'll be in Pittsburgh November 20th for Sunday Night Football, so the atmosphere is going to be, something that night. But speaking of Pittsburgh Steelers, is this the year the Steelers finally finish below 500? Oh my God. I mean, like, you know, I don't want to prey on a team's downfall, but if there's anybody out there, this would be the one.
You know, I think it's tough. I think as much as I wish I didn't like Najee Harris as much as I do, I think year 2 will be huge for him. I think he's really going to, you know, step out. Obviously, at the end of the day, they saw TJ Watt. Probably. I mean, again, bias. I think Myles Garrett should be Defensive Player of the Year every year, but, you know, they've got TJ Watt. And again, I think it really will depend on their quarterback situation. I really respect Mike Tomlin and everything he does over in their facility and with that team. So, you know, again, don't want to prey on anyone's downfall, like you said. I think it'll be close. If anything, I think they could finish last in the division. Whether or not that's below 500, I guess we'll see. Fingers crossed, maybe. But again, I think it depends on the, you know, quarterback situation. Kind of depends. Is Najee Harris going to let this be his breakout year? Is it not? I think there's a lot of factors that are going to go into it. So I think it'll be exciting. I've actually, as weird as it is, been really excited to see kind of what happens over there in Pittsburgh.
Exactly. I mean, this is the first time that, you know, they haven't had Ben Roethlisberger as their guy in 20 years. So this is going to be, it could be a different Pittsburgh Steelers look, but at the same time, I mean, it could go back to the old steel curtain. Who knows what's going to happen when it comes to that? I mean, you look at, you know, their front-loaded schedule is, you know, they play Cincinnati, they play New England, they play the Browns on Thursday Night Football week 3. So, I mean, obviously they're going to play some tough opponents the first couple games of the season and all, and, you know, they'll get tested. And like I said, I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers, I know, as much as we don't like them, they are a very respected, well-respected organization throughout the National Football League. And, you know, we got to give props to them in that regard. And Mike Tomlin, I mean, top 5, I don't even know, maybe top 3 head coach in the National Football League right now. I mean, It's, you know, you have Andy Reid, you got obviously Sean McVay, Bill Belichick, you got a ton of guys in that. But
Kevin
Mike Tomlin,
Stefanski.
I mean, I will say Stefanski has done a very good job. I think he has a winning record in Cleveland right now. It's you know, one of the only guys to do that in a minute. But
I think that I'm confident that if the Steelers go below 500, I think fans will say it's because they are no longer playing in the Heinz Field. They're going to be like, it's not the team, it's the name change. I can just, if I know Steelers fans, I know they would pull some stuff like that.
Yeah, they would pull stuff like that. They pull the, we got 6 rings and all that, you know, like they pull that out of their bag all the time. I got a couple friends that are exactly like that. And, you know, the stadium too. I mean, it took down the ketchup bottle. So, okay. Like that's
big deal over there.
Yeah. Huge deal over there in Pittsburgh. But yeah. And I remember you said something about the quarterback situation. And, you know, that's exactly the next question we're going to get into. Who's the best option to start at quarterback week 1 against the Bengals?
You know, I've personally seen Kenny Pickett play a couple times when he was at Pitt. I think Kenny Pickett, I don't know if he's going to start. I think Mitch Trubisky has been playing for so long. You know, he's got that leadership. He's got the experience, which is so important. And Kenny, I think, you know, has been performing in preseason. He played pretty well the other night against the Lions. And so I think that if he doesn't start, I think he'll still come in pretty early in the season. So personally, you know, again, like you said, week 1 against the Bengals, such an amazing team. To throw him out there like that right away could shake his confidence a little bit. So maybe sticking with Trubisky and almost like a little bit of the safer option might be the best bet, you know, week 1 against a division rival, against a powerful offense or a powerful defense such as the Bengals, just to kind of keep his confidence a little safe for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think I agree with you. I agree with the Mitch Trubisky thing. And Trubisky played pretty well, you know, yesterday and then throughout the entire preseason. He's played pretty good football and on. And I know we, you know, people, you know, give Trubisky a shade here and there and all. But I mean, he's got a winning record at quarterback, I will say. So, I mean, and that's the thing in the National Football League. I know we have, you know, the elite quarterbacks, the elite realm of quarterbacks. There's like at least, you know, 7 to 8 elite quarterbacks in football. But, I mean, it comes down to winning games. And if, a guy's able to win a football game, that's obviously going to be, the stepping stone of, building off success like that. So, I mean,
Right.
Trubisky has done that. And he went to the playoffs 2 out of 3 times with the Chicago Bears, which,
Right.
is actually bizarre. But, I mean, no shade at Trubisky, but,
Yeah, no.
you got to keep it real, though. But I will say, I know you're talking about when Kenny would take over, but I know we on this show, we take hard picks at it. Do you know what exact week? Do you have an exact guess on what week he'll take over?
I'm going to say it's like I want to say week 3, but I feel like that might be too early. So let's go week 4. I'm going to throw it out there.
Week 4 they play the Jets. There you go.
So there we go.
Yeah, that's actually not bad right there. That's a very friendly opponent to play against. I mean, the Jets have gotten better, but they're still the Jets. They're the Jets. Jets.
Yeah. I'm glad you're recording this though, so when he does his first start is week 4, I can post this on my Instagram and be like,
yes,
I called
it.
Yeah. Spoken into existence.
We call shots on this show. We call shots on this show, and and you're on it today, and we, that's all we're doing right now. But I mean, we'll see what Kenny Pickett can do. I just have this weird feeling that he's gonna, emerge from the shadows week 11 when I'm at that game, and I'm like, oh crap.
Okay, so you're on the opposite end of me. You're like, oh, it's not gonna be till much later.
Yeah,
I think that it's so interesting because he played for Pitt, right? So and their facilities are connected. So I think there's all the quarterbacks, I feel like, or even just any players, rookies in general, go through so much change within like the first, from draft day to week 1. And so sometimes, getting to stay in that element, getting to be around people you've been around for the past few years and getting to stay in the same city, a lot of the same fans, again, be in the same facility, I think that could almost, really give him an upper hand and kind of almost make him ready just a little bit earlier. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's so much that goes into sports. Is such a mental game. And if his mentality is in the right place and he's already feeling at home and, playing in front of fans he's played in front of before, I think that could really help him out. So
that's true. That's a really good point to take, though. I mean, both the facilities are connected and all. So, I mean, not going through a whole lot of change, just a, different change in the uniform and, different change of the people that he's playing against. But hey, I definitely agree with what you're saying there. And I mean, with him, like it's, obviously to step up in the competition and all. I mean, it's the National Football League, but I still think Kenny Pickett will end up being a very good quarterback and, for Pittsburgh and all. So I am excited to see what he can do. Obviously not excited to see what the Pittsburgh Steelers are on this year, but, we're going to roll over to the next one, the Cleveland Browns.
Oh,
I mean,
let's go.
Yeah, I know you're rubbing your hands for this one, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened this offseason. We don't really need to touch base on that and all. I think the entire national media knows about that. But, hey, Jacoby Brissett's their starting quarterback for the first 3 months. And I do want to, I'm really intrigued by him because he's, overall, like he's been, he was the Colts starter for really, I'd say, about 2 years in 2017 and 2019 after Andrew Luck abruptly retired. Played a little bit in New England. He was down in Miami for a bit. Might be missing a team in between, but what does Jacoby Brissett need to do in making sure the Browns win football games during his time as a starter?
I feel like because of what's happened this offseason, so many people view him as just a fill-in. But at the end of the day, that's not the case. Coach Stefanski, Andrew Berry, every coach in that locker room, every player has complete confidence in him, or he wouldn't, in my opinion, be there. Because I mean, we're trusting him to be the leader on that team, be the leader out there on that field. I mean, be our quarterback, be our person. So I think for me personally, he just has to play with confidence, run the offense, really rely on our weapons. We've got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, we've got Amari Cooper. And again, just run that offense that Coach Stefanski, AVP, they all put together so well. So a lot of people like to talk about Mr. Jacoby, but for me personally, I am really excited to see what he's going to do with this team. I've heard a lot of negativity kind of circling around him. And again, like what I said with the fill-in thing, and and him just being a backup, but he's not. He's our starter, and I completely trust him and completely trust those decisions that the coaches and, the staff over there make. So, again, just play confident, run that offense, and I don't expect him. He's not Tom Brady. Again, nobody's Tom Brady besides Tom Brady, so it's not – I don't expect that out of him. I don't think anybody expects that out of him, but I expect him to play well and play confidently.
Definitely. And the Cleveland Browns, they run the football exceptionally well in the National Football League, top 3 in rushing the last couple of years behind a very good offensive line and, a plethora of great running backs, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dearness Johnson even. They're going to run the football obviously to start the season. If not wrong, but I think Jacoby Brissett will also become more comfortable. He's a good passer, I would say. He's a pretty good passer. So, he's obviously got, like you said, weapons on the outside. He's got, Amari Cooper and DPJ and a couple guys out there and some tight ends and Harrison Bryant and David Njoku and all. So I personally think the Browns will by the time Deshaun comes back, I think they'll be in that 500 range at that 5 and 6, 6 and 5 mark, or maybe even better because their schedule's pretty favorable. If Jacoby Brissett can play very good football, they can win a good amount of games going into December. So I'm very excited to see what Jacoby Brissett can do. I've always believed in him myself, and wherever he's been. But this is a very unique situation for him to, maybe even play himself on, once Watson comes back and is there for that entire time, maybe on another roster and maybe get another shot. So that's definitely a very interesting part there. But
I think he'll step into the challenge for sure. I think he knows what he has to do, and I think he'll do great.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. He's obviously when he was in Indianapolis, he did some pretty good things there. I know they went like 7-9, and I think it was 2019. But for him to step in there a few weeks before Andrew, after Andrew Luck retired and all, at least he's got a pretty good margin to prepare himself as a starting quarterback for the Browns. So very excited to see what he's got in store for 2022. But flipping sides of the ball to defense,
let's talk about it.
when we were, I was sending you the questions and all. I didn't bring up Myles Garrett in there, which is a very big shock.
Yeah.
But something that, really not surprised me, but it really came to my attention when the Bengals played the Browns last year in Week 9. I know Joe Burrow threw for 282 yards, but the Cleveland secondary was playing almost lights out that game. Honestly, Denzel Ward started the game with a pick 6, and that result of me throwing a remote over the banister. So it's okay, but yeah. How high are you riding on this Cleveland secondary?
Extremely high, and not even just saying that because of my position as a fan. I just think I've known defense coordinator Joe Woods for a really long time. I know how he kind of operates, his part of the locker room. I, on the coaching side, trust him completely. Think he really knows what he's doing. But then on the field, the players part of it, I think about our corners. I think about, obviously, Myles Garrett, big one. Like, I could sit here and talk about Myles Garrett all day, but that's the obvious. But, we've got Greg Newsome out there for his second year, Pro Bowler Denzel Ward, who obviously you've seen in action.
Oh, yeah.
And, we signed Clowney back. And we've just got a lot of good leaders out there. We've got Anthony Walker Jr., John Johnson III, and they mesh so well. The way our defense is on the field, but even them off the field, just the way they interact, the way they just help each other. The veterans help the rookies. I see nothing but success for that secondary. And again, just really excited to see them. I think they were, in my opinion, one of the most exciting defenses to watch, especially no offense, but playing, teams like the Bengals, playing those big name teams and them just really coming out and performing. I think they're going to do the exact same thing this year, if not better. So.
Yep. I could definitely see it happening too. Against, they're, Week 1, they're going to, have Baker Mayfield. So they're definitely going to be licking their chops that game.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. So, you got that. And then obviously we're talking about the, the Bengals Browns and all. Week 8, that's going to be a very exciting Monday Night Football matchup on Halloween.
Halloween.
There you go. Halloween in Cleveland. And you got Burrow and them going at it and all, and the secondary. I mean, they've had. I would say they've had Joe Burrow's number the last couple of years, and I know Joe Burrow's had some really good games against them, but that Cleveland secondary is legit. Though. They're really legit. I mean, Denzel Ward got the big contract. Newsome drafted last year out of Northwestern. I mean, it's they got a pretty
Carry on Winfrey too. I didn't even touch on him. I don't even know I forgot his name, but he's out there going to perform really well too.
Yes, I mean, it's Cleveland secondary. It's gonna be real tough for any quarterback to play against this year, especially with Myles Garrett coming at you. I mean, on the pass rush. But I will say, you were with the Cleveland Browns in 2021. What was that whole experience like, being behind the scenes and everything?
Amazing. So I was there for a summer in 2019 as well. And that was really when I was getting my footing with everything. But coming back this past season, it's amazing just to kind of be out. I was out at practice most days, was there every press conference, getting to know the players and interviewing them and stuff. And it's so funny whenever people ask me about Myles Garrett, like, he seems so scary. Nicest guy you'll ever meet. And unless you're on the field, I almost got hit by him multiple times on the sidelines. I would run the opposite direction. I was like, if Myles Garrett runs into me, it's lights out. But it was an amazing experience. I think that I was in a really unique position, and it just made me even more of a Browns fan because just getting to know them personally. I think everybody in their Twitter fingers like to say a lot of different things when players aren't performing or coaches aren't doing what people want. And I understand that to an extent, for sure. It's just at the end of the day, they're still people. And so that was my favorite part, is getting to really get to know them and what they like and dislike and their personalities. Like John Johnson III is one of the goofiest people I've ever met in my entire life, but he plays like an animal out there, you know? And so it's so crazy to see them, in their element, but then they step on that football field and see how focused they are, and they play their hearts out. And it is a group of guys that truly care about the Cleveland Browns and care about the city and the fans and winning. And so I'm excited for this season.
Definitely. And I know we see them on the field, and obviously you see all of them outside of it, all the teams, all the players and all. I mean, that's just another reason why we love football, all the stuff that they're doing on the field and off the field and, just in the locker room, communities, all that stuff. So that's just another reason, a big reason why we love football. And that's just so awesome that you were able to do that last year with the Cleveland Browns and all.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then speaking of the first edition of the Cleveland Browns, which, left in 1995, we got the Baltimore Ravens. Here we go. The Ravens.
Here we go.
I will say this. All right. We've heard a lot of talk. All right, about the Baltimore Ravens. They were 8-3 last year going in to December. They lost the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers because they went for 2, and Mark Andrews apparently had butterfingers, but hey, he's a top 5 tight end in football. So I'm not going to rat at him like that. Lost to the Browns the next week where Lamar Jackson got hurt, and that's just where ship just sank. I mean, they lost to the Packers, lost to us, a bunch of practice squad corners. I don't really care. Burrow threw for 500. I'll keep saying that the entire time. Lost a close one to the Rams, and then lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers and, gave them their ticket to the playoffs. Dropped 6 in a row, going in, finishing off the season. Their pick to go first, from worst to first. They went from first to worst in December, actually.
Yeah.
But can they go worst to first, and do they have the best chance in the National Football League?
Thinking about all the teams that were last in their divisions last year, I think Ravens probably, I would say them or Denver probably have the best kind of chance to do that. I think a big part is, like you were mentioning all their injuries. Ravens really struggled last year. And so if they stay healthy, I think they have a good chance. But again, you've got the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson, who I believe could also come in really hot and kind of take over that division. So I hope no Chiefs fans come for me for that. So I think we'll see. Again, it's hard because I'm like, no, the Browns are going to be number 1 in the division. But I think that the Ravens are going to look a lot better than they did last year.
Definitely. And they made some, they made some acquisitions, obviously in the draft, Kyle Hamilton. They went out and got Marcus Williams in free agency. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, obviously when they were healthy last year, they were a really tough team to stop. They have that identity of run the football, but then they're, pretty creative when it comes to the passing game and all.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a college team playing, but hey, some college teams put up 50 on the board, and the Ravens are very capable of doing that. So,
yeah.
Very, very interesting to look at them from that perspective. But, they play the entire AFC East to start the season off. They play in New York, they play versus Miami, they play in New England, then they play the Bills, and they play us on Sunday Night Football. And then I believe I had the schedule in front of me week 6, but then they play the Browns week 7, I will say. So they have a very interesting front-loaded schedule. So we'll obviously see how they can do to make that chance from going worst to first. And Denver, that's a very interesting one because you got the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and all, and their first matchup isn't until week 14 actually. So we'll really get to see what the Denver Broncos look like when they, the first time they take on the Kansas City Chiefs. But the next one, we got confidence level of Lamar Jackson passing the football after losing Hollywood Brown via trade. What do you think?
I mean, yes, I understand the question and why people are kind of questioning his pass game, but at the end of the day, hasn't his number one guy still kind of been Mark Andrews? So I think that I understand to an extent, but at the end of the day, as much as I hate to say it, Lamar Jackson is still Lamar Jackson. I mean, watching him play football is so exciting. He's incredible. I mean, he's just an incredible athlete. And again, he did not perform the way that he usually did last season due to injury, due to a lot of other things.
Yep.
And he's definitely the type of player that's going to come out hot. And I just know he's ready to go. So I wouldn't question it all that much. I think Hollywood, yes, good. Still had a lot of drops. It's not like he's wide receiver number. He's no Cooper Kupp. And so I think that, again, like I said, Lamar's still got Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman. So I think he's still got good weapons out there. So I'm not too concerned.
Yeah, I'd say the same. So, I mean, you got, Mark Andrews, obviously top tight end in football. And then Rashad Bateman really made some strides last season. And obviously he'll take on that number one. He was, obviously one of the best receivers in college football when he was at Minnesota. So, I mean, he could obviously step in and take that workload. He'll really be the number 2 pass catcher and all, but I think that'll be a pretty good role for him. I know, I was looking at their depth chart going into training camp. I believe their kick returner from last year and their punt returner from last year, Devin Duvernay and James Prochet were their 2 and 3, which really had me concerned. But at the same time, the Baltimore Ravens, they do it with their defense. That's the really big thing with them. They mix it up. They send a bunch of blitz packages. They're just nasty. They're a nasty team and all, but they're really good at that. So that's what we're looking at for the Baltimore Ravens coming up in 2021. But I want to talk about kickers though.
Oh, let's.
I remember you brought this up. I mean, we got some of the best kickers in the National Football League in our division. I mean, take it away.
Collectively, out of just division wise, we've got the best 4. Like you were saying, I just think Justin Tucker, obviously, no need to even explain. Yeah. Evan McPherson came in absolutely clutch last season for the Bengals. Yeah. I mean, winning playoff games. Chris Boswell for the Steelers, and then our little newbie on the Browns, Cade York, who's out there shining. I am so proud of him. And it just shows, I think, not until last season, because you guys what did you guys draft Evan McPherson at? Do you remember?
I think it was round 5, might have been pick 164. But,
right. And so I think, he proved it's a good idea to use a draft pick on a kicker. And that's what the Browns did. And, Cade still early, only kicked in preseason, but he's made the majority of his kicks. And even in the ones he's missed, it's not lack of not having a leg. It's just a little bit off. Again, might be biased. He's got the best special teams coordinator in the league on his side.
Okay.
But I'm really excited. And, I think as much as people maybe don't get excited about kickers, they should be excited about watching our 4 kickers in our division because it's something special for sure.
Oh, definitely is. And I mean, that it really changed the whole dynamic of a game. I mean, if an offense is having trouble and they just get across the 50-yard line, just get across the 40, you can kick a 50+ yarder, and that's nothing. You know, just it really changed the whole dynamic of games. We obviously saw the Ravens do it for, they've done it for this long of time. I mean, their offense might be sputtering here and there. Justin Tucker comes in, saves them with a 60-yard field goal casually, and
so casually,
very casually, just like drinking a cup of tea and all. But with
singing
him,
his opera and
exactly, yes, exactly. And obviously Evan McPherson came in clutch last year. Time and time again. Well, week 5, I remember the Packers game, but time and time again. I mean, Evan McPherson was brilliant, and just some of the big kicks that he made. He had ice in his veins and all. I saw Cade York did hit a 70-yard field goal in warmups actually on Saturday. That was
our guy.
Really impressive. I know, and I mean, in some of these games with how tight they are and tight they're gonna be and all. I mean, it could come down to some kicking battles and just who has the last, who has the ball last. And who has the last kick. So,
and I think a lot of it is confidence too. I think kicking is such a mental game because if you've got that mental block, I mean, I've personally watched so many kickers almost careers end, they just couldn't get over that mental hump. And so as unfortunate that is, I think there's 4 confident, really good kickers in the AFC North, and I'm excited. Special teams wins championships, okay?
Well, they can. I mean, and also they've won a good amount of the Super Bowls and all that too on the last play. So,
and lost.
And lost. That's very true. And I know I mentioned Chris Boswell. Chris Boswell looked like pure gold against Cincinnati Bengals for many years. For many years and all that. I was at that playoff game and hit the game-winning field goal. I don't even want to go to that place again.
Don't tear up on us.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to tear up. I got tissues to the side, so it's all good. But yeah, I mean, he actually is human because he missed one last year against us. I couldn't believe it. Really couldn't believe it. We were beating them. I think we were beating them 24-7. Missed a field goal, and I said, "Oh, we won. We won." He's actually human. But yes, that was the selling point right there. But man, we do have some really good kickers, and that's something to boast about. And obviously, the AFC North last year. Think about it. The Bengals were 10-7. Steelers were 9-7-1, and both the Browns and Ravens were 8-9. I mean, that was 4 teams separated within 2 games, and that division was shuffling here and there the entire time, the entire season also. But here, the last question. All right. Who wins the division and why?
Cleveland Browns, easy. I'm going with. I would never stray away. I'm a diehard fan.
Yeah.
But also, I'm going to stick with them. It's the best. I feel like that's the best thing for me. But I can also, to be completely honest, see the Bengals winning it again. We go back to that Super Bowl hangover, but it's Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
It's y'all's defense, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to stick with my Cleveland Browns. Ride or die.
And I don't blame you on that. I mean, it's the Browns have a very good case, very, very good shot of trying to win the division this year and all. But I'm gonna go with my Bengals. That's just the route I gotta take. I know it's so shocking and all, but I just gotta rock with them. I think they're gonna come out really motivated in 2022. So really excited to see what they have in store. But as long as the Ravens or the Steelers are not winning this thing, and the Browns for myself, then I think we're gonna be okay. Okay. I will say this though. I will say if the Ravens and Steelers don't win it, it's a success. At least Ohio stand up. Ohio versus the world is
Ohio against the world.
Exactly.
I love it.
I love it too. But any final thoughts you got for the AFC North, Katie?
Just thanks for having me on today, and go Browns.
All right. I appreciate you coming on and Who Day and all, but really, really do appreciate you taking the time out of the day and all your busy schedule. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. You remember, if Kenny Pickett starts in week 4, I'm coming back on this podcast, and I've got things to say. We'll
replay the soundbite over and over again. We got you covered. And that was the AFC North breakdown, and we'll see you guys in a couple of days.